Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for spending a bit of time with me today. Hopefully you're well and looking forward to another episode in Planet Zoo here in our town project. So this is our project without animals, although it may have some animals in at some point, where I am attempting to build an entire town within Planet Zoo. So far we have our county hall, we have some shops and a block of flats, we have an office over here, and we have a supermarket and a roundabout. Today's project is going to be in this area behind our county hall here, and it's going to be a small park with a pond or a mini lake possibly. So there we go. One thing that is going to change at some point, I can't remember if it's in this episode or not, but I do just change these lampposts all around here, in fact all over here as well. I realised that the lampposts were all too close together, so I get rid of every other lamppost. I can't remember when I do that, but I will try and point it out when I do, and you'll realise that it actually does look a lot better. But for now, let's crack on with our little park project for today. So it starts off obviously just getting the shape in. So the road is going to turn left here, so I have to smooth these corners off around the back here on the pavements. So the path is going to come along here. I can't actually remember what shape I do, but I think I bring this road out at an angle so that we create a slightly different shape rather than just having it as another square. But let me load up my first save point, and we'll see exactly how I got started. There we go, there's our shape. So like I said, I had to round off the curbs for this pathway back here. And then we have the road. Obviously I haven't done all the markings yet, but the road cuts across and it continues straight here, straight round the back. But then because I didn't want to just do it as another big square or an oblong or whatever, I wanted a bit of variety, so I brought this road out at an angle and then joined it up over here. Because certainly I know in America most cities are laid out in grids, but certainly in the older countries of the world like the UK here, our road system is very ancient, and so you end up with nothing being a sort of a uniform shape. Everything is quirky and going at all sorts of angles and whatever, and it just makes everything look a bit more interesting as well. So there we go, and I have also done our pavement around the outside. I haven't done the curb on it yet. You can see this bit of a gap here. But yeah, so that's our basic shape, and I wanted it, I had a couple of ideas. The first idea was that it would be a walled park, so I was going to actually build a wall all the way around the outside here, and I did do that, or I started to do that, and I did something similar to how I did the county hall here, with a wall and a fence, but it just didn't look good. It looked too big and bulky, and so what I've decided to do in the end was to make it an open park. So I blend, basically, yeah, I kind of raise the land up a little bit inside and blend it into the path, so it looks like it all just belongs together kind of thing. And then using the terrain painting, I've just created pathways by painting in dirt tracks essentially all the way around the pond, which obviously isn't in there yet. But yeah, that's the idea. So it's quite a big area. It's probably I suppose it's on par with our supermarket over here. But yeah, it's a good size for a local park, you know, with pond, benches, that sort of thing. At one point I did consider doing a bandstand. Now I don't know if that's something that you have everywhere in the world, but in the UK here we have things called bandstands, which are old buildings essentially where brass bands would set up and play music for people who are in the park. I haven't done that, but I may well do that at some point in this project. I have no idea how big this project's going to be. I mean, there's plenty of scope for it to spread out and take up the whole map, so we'll have to wait and see what I come up with in the future. But let's press on with our park for now. So let me load up our next save point and see what I did next. So here you can see I've put in all our road markings, including these double white lines where the cars have to stop at each end, and continue up here as well. And our pond is now in place. I'm going to call it a pond, not a lake. It's not quite big enough for a lake. It's a large pond. So it's a nice random shape, which is what I wanted. And you can see I've just done a bit of gentle landscaping here. And like I said, I've raised it up around the edge here so it blends into the pathway. I wanted the two to just blend together. And just giving it a little bit of a contour all the way around the edge here, just lifting it up in places. I didn't want anything big, no big slopes, just natural looking grassland basically, just so that it didn't look too manicured and perfect. And I've left some of it as long grass, some of it as short. I do quite a lot of work with the detailing on that sort of thing to try and make it all look natural. I do it with some of the plants in the game instead of just leaving this long grass. I'll show you that when we get to it. But yeah, so that's our basic shape. So at this point my thinking was that I would have the path that goes around it, but I'd also wanted at least one seating area. I was thinking over here made sense for a bit of a seating area, but I think I also do a little one in this area here where you can sit right next to the pond as well. And then the rest is just sort of trees and some shrubs and that kind of thing. So it's a pretty simple thing as far as parks go. You know, there's not a lot to them really, certainly not in this case, but I think it looks really good actually come the end. So you could be the judge of that though. But there we go, onwards and upwards. Let's move on, and yeah, I think I probably crack on with the pathways next to get the basic shape and structure of the whole area in. So let me load up my next point, and we'll see, shall we? So now we've got some of our basic pathway structure in place. So like I said, I did put a little seating area in here. So this is a technique to get these benches down. If you've played the game before, you know you can only place benches down on pathways. However, once you put the bench down, if you delete the pathway underneath, the bench stays. So that's how I've managed to get benches down here, sitting on the ground. So I've got a circle of them there. And then I've just painted pathways leading out onto the pavement, and then it comes around here, and it's just literally just painted on, just showing where people walk. And then you've got another exit there, and then it snakes around here, does a bit of a turn around there, and then it comes up to the water. And again, I've used the same technique here to get these benches in by the water here, all facing the pond, so you can sit down and eat your lunch or whatever while looking out over the water. And then you've got another exit there to the pavement, and then again it just snakes around the top here, kind of blends in with the edge of the pond there as well, and then joins back to here. So that's your basic path structure. I think that looks really nice. As far as the trees go, you can see I've put some nice big trees in here. So you've got a big oak tree, you've got some ash here as well. I think that one's an ash, yeah. And then what I've done with these ones, these are beech trees, yeah, beech sapling. And what I've done with young trees like this, when they're first planted, you put these little support structures in like this, and you put this angled in such a way that it allows the tree to sway in the wind, but it also protects it from being broken by the wind. So what you would have is a structure like this, and then you would have a tie supporting the tree to this. Now I tried to put some sort of rope bits on here, and it just didn't look right at all. It didn't work, so I've just left it looking like that, and it just gives that impression that the trees are supported. And so I just created a building out of that essentially, and then just copied and pasted all around. So all of these young trees that you can see, they've all got these nice little supports on. I made sure they're all facing the same way as well, because you plant them in such a way that the wind will allow the tree what am I trying to say? You plant it, so in this case the wind would be going top to bottom like we're looking at it now, because it means that the wind can sway the tree. In this case, let me show you from this angle, it would sway from left to right, but it doesn't allow it to sway that way, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's all about positioning and making sure it can move in the wind, but it's still strong enough that the wind doesn't snap it. I did not describe that very well at all. You can just ignore me if you want. I do know what I'm talking about, but I don't always articulate my words properly. I have these wonderful thoughts and then my mouth opens and random words come out and I talk nonsense. Anyway, so we have plenty of trees. So the theory behind this, or my backstory, is that it's an old existing park, but maybe it's recently had a bit of funding and they've managed to get money to plant a whole load of new trees. That was my thinking with that. You know, so they've just planted up with a whole load of new trees to try and increase the biodiversity of the area. There we go. That's kind of my backstory. But obviously you've got some nice big old ash and oak trees already there as well. So that is our basic structure now in place. Lots of detailing to do. Because obviously these pathways are literally just where people walk on it and have worn the grass down. And so you kind of need things growing all around the edges to emphasize why people have walked on that track, as opposed to cutting the corner and just walking in straight lines or whatever. Oh, excuse me. So there's still a lot of detailing to do in that regard. I mean, bits like this, if there was nothing in this gap here, people would naturally just walk straight across here. So you've got to make sure you fill in these gaps with stuff that make people walk around the track instead. Because unfortunately human nature is to walk as quickly as possible in a straight line from A to B. We don't like winding paths unless they're the only option. And that is, yeah, so that's something that I needed to make sure I did with shrubs and plants and possibly trees, that sort of thing. So that, I think, is probably what I crack on with next. So let me load up my next point and we'll see exactly what I did next. Right, so there's loads to talk you through. This is it now. This is the finished product. The first thing actually I will show you before we move into there is that I have reduced down the number of the lampposts along all the streets here. I think you'll agree this is a much better distance for the lampposts to be apart from each other, and it just makes it look a bit more realistic, I think, all the way around the streets here. So that was one little thing that I've done. Now let's get into our park. Lots going on in here now. So detailing around the outside, you'll see what I've done. I wanted to keep it looking really natural and wild, not too looked after, no sort of proper flower beds or anything. So I've used this stuff. This is, what have we got here? We've got the elephant grass stuff like that, which just sinks down in and it just looks great. It's you've also got, what have we got? Drin grass, there we go, that's a nice one as well. So lots of different stuff like that I've just sunk into the ground and put around, and it just looks like it's been left to grow a bit wild, you know. So it took quite a long time doing this. I was really placing each bit individually and making sure it all sort of blended together nicely. Obviously I've mixed in stuff like the natural painted long grass here. We've got some of these little flowers. What are these? I can't quite remember what these are. Periwinkle flowers. I think that's quite a new plant put into the game in one of the latest DLCs actually. Just some little things like that, just down in the long grass, just adding a little sparkles of colour. You've got the odd tree stump where an old tree has been cut down. We've got some keep off the grass signs, because you don't want people walking through all of this, because it's all about wildlife, you know. This is why you leave grass to get long, because it's really good for all the bugs, all the insects and things to make homes and walk around in here without fear of getting trodden on by people. So that's the idea of all of this, all sort of this wild growth. Got some other grasses. You've got some of these nice ones. What are these ones? Triodia grass. Yeah, really cool looking things. So stuff like that, just blended in, just to try and make it all look as natural as possible. Around our seating area here, we have some nice fallen logs, and obviously these are not all naturally fallen into place. But again, in England, this is something that you often see in areas like this, to sort of mark out an edge where you don't want people walking beyond that. So that's the thinking with those fallen logs. And then again, more of these grasses all just blended together, little periwinkles sunk down in here. Another keep off the grass sign. Like I said, filling in all the gaps basically, so that it stops people cutting the corners. So people have to walk along here because that's where the gap is, whereas, you know, if this grass wasn't in here, people would just continue walking right along by the water here. Managed to get some bins down as well, using that same technique where you put a bit of path down and then put the bin and then delete the path. More tree stumps as well. You'll see there are lamp posts all around the paths, which I will show you soon. I will show you what it looks like at night. You'll see just more grasses all just blended together. You just see the odd little special grass like this one just poking up out of the undergrowth. Just continue. I think I've done a really good job actually. I'm very happy with how it looks. It looks really nice and natural and wild, all of this stuff. It's all completely random. Random in as much as everything was placed very carefully. So it looks random, but it wasn't randomly placed. I did purposely place everything. And then you got the odd shrub like this one that's just a bit different, just to give it a slightly different texture here and there. Yeah, so there we go. I mean, it's simple, but it's effective. It's really effective. I think it makes it all look really unkempt and wild, I think is the word I would use, which is what I wanted it to look like. I didn't want it to look like a manicured estate, you know. I wanted it to be a nice wildlife garden. With regards to the water, didn't do too much in here. Just put some of these, I always forget what these ones are called. The common reeds. Yeah, I should be able to remember that name really. So the common reeds there, you've got some lilies in the water as well. You've got some bulrushes over here. And then more bulrushes, reeds, lilies. So really nothing too fancy. Got some rocks and some of this lovely mossy stuff down actually in the water as well. Just there, and I think we've got some over here as well, just to give it a bit of texture at the bottom of the water there. But I didn't want to overfill the water. I wanted it to look like people come right up to the edge here and kind of sit by the water as well. So I've kept it all fairly clear really around most of the water, certainly where the path is near the water's edge. And that is it. That's our park, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I really do. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. Let me just show you the nighttime park. So the lighting is gentle, but it's just enough that if you actually walk around at night, you could just about see your way by the lights, and you know, you could come and sit down here quite easily, I think, under these lights. So yeah, it's cool. I like it. I'm very happy with this. I had a lot of fun with it. I love doing this sort of thing. You know, I'm a gardener in real life, so doing this sort of thing in the game is perfect for me. This is something that I take a lot of time and pleasure in. And there we go. That is our little park. So let me show you our town now. It's coming together. It's starting to look like a nice looking town, isn't it? So let me give you a spoiler for our next episode. It's going to be over here in this space here. You can see I've put the pathway. I've continued the pavement all the way along this side here, and that is in preparation for our next episode, which is going to be along here, and it does cover all of this, and it's going to be a very long row of shops. And it's really good. I'm really pleased with how this has turned out actually, because I've already done it. In fact, I've already done 2 more episodes. I haven't recorded them yet, but I have built them. So yeah, so there's a whole variety of different shop fronts all the way along here. Eventually they will have back sides where I do some backstage stuff, but yeah, for now it's all just the shop fronts basically along here. So there we go. That is going to be our next episode, but for now that is today's episode done. So please let me know what you think about my nice little park. If you have liked the episode, then please do hit the like button, because that really helps out the channel. And please do leave any comments if you like what I've done, or if you don't, or if you've got ideas, if you have requests for buildings for me to put into our town, then please do leave them in the comments. And thank you for being here today and enjoying the episode, hopefully. And fingers crossed I will see you soon. So do take care of yourselves, and that is going to do us for now. So bye for now.